Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in today to hear about my post-wisdom teeth removal surgery and how it all went. At the moment it's day 7 and I'm still feeling quite swollen. I don't have full range of motion of my jaw like I normally would, so apologies if I'm mumbling a little bit. Before I had my surgery, I wasn't entirely sure as to whether I would do like a daily vlog situation or whether I would upload in one go. Hindsight is a great thing because honestly, I guess I didn't take into account swelling or even being able to have full range of motion of my jaw because from the day of my surgery to probably about day 4, I really couldn't talk very much at all. I wasn't able to have full conversations. It was just a lot of kind of conversations that I was having with poor Jonathan, who was the best nurse ever, by the way. So today I'm going to be talking you through what happened on the day of my surgery, as well as what happened on the days following, just to give you an idea of what to expect and what my experience was. My procedure was really early in the morning. It was actually the first one for the day, which if you have the option, I highly recommend. Mainly because you're not supposed to have any food or drink 12 hours prior to surgery. So because I was supposed to be there at 6:30 in the morning, I didn't have to worry about not having meals before, because literally the last meal I had was at dinner at about 7 o'clock the night before. So like I said, really early in the morning, I got up at about 4:45, which is probably around the time I'm normally getting up to go to the gym. So I woke up, I was a little bit nervous, a little bit unsure of what was to come, but I think that's totally normal given that it's an experience that I had never been through before. I got dressed in some really comfortable clothes and my partner Jonathan drove me to the day hospital where I waited to have my appointment. Because I was a bit unsure and a little bit nervous, one of the things that I kept running through in my mind to keep me calm as well is that this is just such a standard procedure and that people get their wisdom teeth taken out every day. I was nothing special at all, even though it was me going through it. These doctors and nurses are so experienced and they could probably take my teeth out with their eyes closed. So there was absolutely nothing to be worried about. Another thing that kept me calm was the staff at the hospital. They were so professional, they were so caring and kind, and it was so helpful just to keep me distracted from the whole process that was ahead of me. They really run that hospital like a well-oiled machine, which was so comforting to me to know that that was the care that I was in. Even though I was told to wear comfortable clothes, which was great, I still had to get changed into the gown cape situation, you know, the one that you tie at the sides. They also gave me a hair, what do you call that thing? A cap. What do you call those things? I'm having a total moment. You know, you put it on your head. They'll wear them in there. The hospital head thing. The hospital hat. I'm having a total mind blank. Hospital hat. Let's go with hospital hat. So I had one of those as well. My anesthetic nurse came in and she was so lovely. She gave me a sort of like a mouth rinse, and shortly after that I met my anaesthetist, who was, he had a bit of a funny bedside manner, so that kind of lightened me up a little bit as well. I let him know that it was the first time that I've been under general anesthetic, so I was a little bit nervous about the experience, and he said that there was absolutely nothing to worry about. He does this every day, all day, and I will be fine. So that was really comforting as well. So then one of the nurses came to collect me and bring me back to the room that they were going to be taking my wisdom teeth out in. And it looks like a pretty standard hospital room if you've ever seen one. A lot of bright lights. There was the operating bed table. It's not a table, like it's soft. Anyway, That was in the middle of the room. My surgeon was in the corner looking at my x-rays, and there were probably about 5 people in the room total. One was my surgeon, one was his nurse, one was a hospital nurse, one was the anesthetic nurse, and one was the anaesthetist. Busy, plus me. It was a party in that room. For anyone that hasn't been anesthetized before, it was quite intimidating to see. There was the bed, but then there was a little bed for my arm to lay out flat. So looking at that, I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to put my arm on that and they're gonna shove the needle in, and I was a little bit uncomfortable about it, but honestly, I didn't even have time to think about it because I lay down, put my arm out, the anaesthetist wrapped the rubber band around my arm to get my veins to pop up, and I was fully looking away the whole time. One of the nurses came over to hold my hand and she was talking to me and totally distracting me. So I had you can barely see it now, but the anesthetic went into the inside of my elbow, and honestly it was just the tiniest little pinch. It was nothing at all. So I closed my eyes and I just, got comfy, and then all of a sudden I just felt the anesthetic. It was just, I even remember saying, whoa, like it was like an instant drunk feeling. It was so weird. And I remember someone saying, yep, it'll do that to you. And that was the last thing that I remember. The next thing that I knew, I was slowly waking up in the recovery room. There was a nurse nearby and she noticed that I was waking up, and she said hi there to me, and all finished, and it went really well. And I think I might have dozed off in and out sort of for about 15 minutes. I didn't have any loopy experiences, like when you see those videos and people are just saying crazy stuff or they're crying or they're just like super paranoid. I didn't have anything like that. So after about 15-20 minutes, a nurse helped me get out of the bed, and I actually asked her to help me to change back into my normal tracksuit pants because I was having trouble. I still had the needle with the tube in my arm as well, and I think I was a little bit unsure about how to move my arm. Like I sort of only felt like I had use of half my body because this arm was a bit of an out of bounds area. So she was really lovely and she helped me get dressed. And then I asked her, how long do I need to wait before I start taking pain management? And she asked me, is your mouth hurting? And I said, no, it isn't, it just feels really heavy. And she went away and got me a little pill, and it turns out that was Endone, which made me very comfortable and relaxed. And finally, so I couldn't feel my whole mouth, like from about my nose down. It was so funny because she wanted me to take the pill obviously and swallow it with water. So I had to put the pill back into my mouth as far as I could when I couldn't open it very much and I couldn't feel it. And then I had to swallow the water, and I was so worried because one of my friends mentioned to me that I'm just gonna be like a drooling mess. So I was a little bit paranoid about that. Plus just getting water. I was just worried about getting water all down my front. And she said, no, it's fine. Just swallow it back and I'll just have to check because you won't know if you've swallowed it or not, obviously, because I couldn't feel my mouth. So then I got escorted to a little exit lounge, if you like, and there were lots of comfy leather recliners there. I laid back and was just watching the morning news. By this point in time, it was only 9 in the morning, and because I just had surgery on my teeth, I couldn't eat, so I was allowed to have a lemonade, which I sipped really slowly over about a course of 20 minutes. I couldn't really taste blood or anything like that in my mouth. I didn't feel like I was overly salivating as well, so I wasn't drooling or anything like that, which was really good to know. And then I probably stayed there till about 9:45 so they could keep an eye on me and make sure I was not having any adverse reactions to the procedure or the medications that I'd had. And then at that time, Jonathan was called to come and get me, and he came in with me to have my, I suppose, exit outpatient interview, which was basically them telling us all about what to expect, what I should be doing over the next sort of week, and what sort of pain management I could take. So I was prescribed with Nurofen and Panadol, but I was also prescribed with Panadeine Forte, which is a little bit stronger. They also asked that I wait until the following day to brush my teeth and rinse my mouth, and I was to do that after every meal. And that was really all that I remember. I was a little bit slow and a little bit tired, but otherwise fine. And then we drove home. All in all, I was under general anesthetic for 28 minutes, which is so amazing. That's about 7 minutes a tooth for extraction, cleaning the site and suturing it up times 4. So that's just, I'm so impressed by that. So at home, I made sure I took the advice of so many people and had ice packs, cold frozen ice packs wrapped around my head, and I had them on 1 hour rotations or until they were no longer cold to touch, every hour while I was awake. And I'll show you a couple. This one, I got 2 of these from the hospital, so it's like a sling, and it's all frozen ice packs. I don't know what it is. This one didn't stay frozen for as long, so I don't know what's in it, but let me show you how it looks. Really stylish. So this one was actually great. So a few days into my recovery, when I was sort of more up and about, and you know, I found that this one didn't get in my way as much. It was quite complimentary to eating. The next one I got from the chemist. I got 4 of these. So you've got like just a regular, I don't know if you can see it there, like a regular ice pack inside, and then it's inserted into the inside there. And then you can just tie it up at the top, and you can see how wide it is. So like on one side of your face, you can see how wide they are. Like, I mean, they were great because they just provided so much relief, because they were just so cold. They didn't completely freeze, but yeah, these were great at night. And in my first day of the procedure and the second day, when I just didn't want to move, or you know, I barely wanted to eat, I would take this one off to eat, because I would make a hell of a mess, especially on the first day when I couldn't feel my mouth. But really, in the first 24 hours, Jonathan would grab me whichever was the coldest. So for the first 36 hours, I had those on rotation. I was also, as directed, taking the Nurofen as well as Panadeine Forte. And Jonathan and I talked about this before I went in, that I definitely don't want to wait to feel any discomfort. I wanted to take them as scheduled, so he was setting alarms on his phone so we could make sure that I was taking everything at the right time. So following my recovery, I was pretty tired and I slept for most of the day. The only time I was really doing anything else was to eat or take my pills or drink water. So to give you an idea of what I had on my first day, and I'll just consult my notes, I had a couple of scoops of potato mash that were just at room temperature. Because my mouth was extremely numb, I couldn't feel it at all. Just don't want to risk burning or injuring the inside of my mouth. So everything that I had was either cold or room temperature. I had ice cream as well. I also had some yogurt. I had a mashed icy tube and I had some juice, and I drank about 2 liters of water that day. So on the day of my recovery, I didn't experience any pain whatsoever. The only thing that would come close would have been the minor prick in my arm from the anesthetic. That's it. I'm not exaggerating at all. I think that's due to a combination of obviously being anesthetized and just keeping on top of when I should be taking my pain relief, and as well keeping the ice packs there because they do provide a degree of numbing. So my top tips from day 1 recovering from surgery are: take your pills on time. Do not wait to feel pain, just avoid that altogether. I remember when Jonathan had 2 wisdom teeth out, only 2, and I think they were his 2 bottom teeth. He waited until he could start to feel pain and then took pain relief. And of course, pain medication is not instant. It can take 40 minutes for those drugs to be released into your system, and he was in agony. I have never seen him respond to anything like that, and I thought, so that was my number one thing going into the surgery. I want to be as comfortable as possible, so in order to do that, I'm going to take the pills on time. Please do that. My second tip today is keep your ice packs on rotation. I don't know how many people gave me this advice. Clearly, people were not rotating their ice packs once they had their teeth removed. That was the consistent feedback I was getting. Make sure you keep your ice packs on rotation. So all in all, like I said, I had my 2 different kinds of ice packs, and altogether I had 6. Now let me tell you, in the first 24 hours, they weren't even necessarily frozen by the time Jonathan was giving me a new one, and I wanted my face to be cold. My third tip for day 1 after having your surgery is to sleep upright. It's a little bit weird, a little bit awkward to lie upright. It's not normal, but I'm really glad that I did, because my swelling didn't really get that bad at all, and I feel like sleeping upright had a lot to do with that. Now, the day following my surgery was a bit of a different story. A bit of a rough learning curve for me, and I'll take you through why. So through my first night and early in the morning, I was making sure that I was still taking my pain relief pills on time, and I was taking Panadeine Forte, so that's the stronger painkiller. So for breakfast, when I woke up, I made myself a breakfast smoothie. About an hour after that, I was really sick, so I vomited for about 3 hours. So every hour on the hour, pretty much, I was just chucking up. I was just getting everything out of my system, which I hate vomiting. I hate it. It is the worst thing ever. I can't stand it, but I felt so, this is so too much information, but I felt so good afterwards. I had Nurofen and Panadeine Forte throughout the day as we had scheduled it. So a couple of hours after dinner, I was starting to feel really sick again, and then for the remainder of the night, about every 45 minutes to an hour, I was being sick, and just my body just wasn't happy with what I had put in it that day and was just trying to get everything out. It was really unpleasant. So besides my digestive pyrotechnics, I experienced no pain whatsoever the day after my surgery. Still no pain. So following my surgery, I did have swelling on my jaw, and the amount of swelling was starting to increase just a little bit, and I think that's a testament to just keeping it iced all the time, as well as sleeping upright. I was talking a little bit more through the day, so I was FaceTiming with mum and dad a little bit, but I still couldn't really have a proper conversation. Some lessons learned from the day and night before, considering I didn't sleep one wink because I was so sick. We figured that Panadeine Forte just doesn't react well with me, and that could be because of the ingredients and my body just not liking them. It could also be the amount that I was having, so because I was having them frequently as directed, but for someone who never takes pain relief, hardly ever, I think if I have a headache, I'll take a dissolvable aspirin, but that is it. So Panadeine Forte was off the cards. I didn't want to experience that kind of sickness anymore, so I decided to stop taking that from now on. Because I did have a bit of dairy before I was sick, I was well and truly off dairy, so instead I opted to have soup for most of the day. And as well, because of the day before, I didn't get a lot of sleep, so day 2 of my recovery mainly consisted of sleeping. That day I only had 1 Nurofen when my jaw was getting a little bit tender. So on day 2 of recovery, besides having a heavy or throbbing type of feeling in my jaw, I didn't experience any pain. So this is 3 days without having pain after having wisdom teeth surgery, and I was feeling really confident that I just wasn't going to have any. I still couldn't talk very much and my swelling was increasing still. Day 2 also saw me introduce brushing my teeth after every meal as well as rinsing. So I used an ultra soft toothbrush. This toothbrush is so soft, it's a godsend, especially when I was nervous about getting back towards the stitches, that this wasn't going to irritate my mouth or my stitches at all. So besides brushing my teeth after every meal, I've also been using Savicol alcohol-free antiseptic wash, and I use that with a curved syringe. So essentially I just suck the Savicol up into the syringe and then I stick it into my mouth and either curve the end up or down depending on where I am flushing my stitches, and just give it a good flush in each of the corners just to make sure that any of the soft foods that I've been eating from that day aren't getting stuck there and potentially getting into any gaps that it shouldn't and causing infection. If there is a particular pain relief or medication that makes you feel sick or unwell, make sure you tell your surgeon or the hospital before you have your procedure, because there are alternatives to things like Panadeine Forte that you can have that won't irritate your stomach as much. So that's a learning for me as well, and next time I will be doing that. And finally, like I said, brushing and rinsing after every single meal. It does become really tedious and I feel like my tongue was going numb at one point from the Savicol, but having an infection is just not an option for me. I want to have a smooth as sailing recovery, and so I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that happens. So now moving on to day 3 post-procedure. This was the first day where I didn't have any pain medication at all. I was feeling really positive about not feeling any pain so far and wanted to stop taking those kind of things. Obviously people have different pain thresholds and you know what's right for your body, so I felt that it was time to stop taking those things. So without any pain relief, I did notice a little bit of discomfort, definitely not pain at all. It was sort of like a tender feeling. I keep touching this side. This was definitely my most tender side. And I don't know if you can see it now, but I do have a little bit of bruising on the bottom of my jaw. And it's actually, you can see it, it's a worse bruise on this side. So the swelling definitely increased on this day, and it's nothing crazy or outrageous. I continued with my soup and mashed potato diet on this day. I was feeling more alert and more awake as well, and I just opted to relax and watch a little bit of TV. My advice for day 3 post-recovery is to rest and just keep getting as much as you can. So day 4 recovery was the day that my surgeon's office gave me a call to check how I was going, and I knew this call was coming. While I was keeping an eye on how I was recovering and how I was feeling, I knew that if I had any questions that this call was coming and I could ask and have those questions answered. For instance, my face, the lower half of my face was like really quite, I wouldn't say hot, but was quite warm, and I was worried whether there was any risk of infection or anything like that. The office assured me it wouldn't be an infection at this stage. It would just be because there's a lot of blood circulating in that area trying to heal the wounds. So they also told me that day 3 is the peak of any pain or tenderness and any swelling that I would experience throughout this recovery, which was really positive to hear. And just exactly like they said, it actually was the day where I was the most swollen. My bruising, although it is only yellow, was the worst. So from here, every day I've been improving more and more. Everything's getting a little bit easier. I'm getting more sleep. I've got more energy, and that's probably partially because I'm just not doing anything through the day, which is exactly what I planned. Even though that's really hard for me to sit still, I like to be very busy. So with having more energy, I'm able to do a couple of things around the house, like doing washing and folding, and I'm trying to avoid TV as much as possible because I just don't feel like I can watch it for another minute at this stage. So my advice is to make sure that you have something to do as you start to get a bit more energy besides TV. While it's great to have TV shows or movies that you can binge watch, for people that need a little bit more than that, I suggest maybe starting a new book or finding something else that's a little bit more stimulating than watching TV. So it's expected that my stitches will actually dissolve in about 2 weeks. So in the meantime, I plan to continue brushing and rinsing my mouth out after every single meal. I'll also continue to eat soft foods for another week until my stitches are dissolved. I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything to inhibit the healing process there. Tonight I'm actually going to lie flat on my back for the first time, which I'm really excited about. Tomorrow I'm headed back to work, so I'm really looking forward to seeing all my workmates and actually using my mind to do something productive. And in terms of fitness and working out, I plan to go back to the gym next week. But that's it for my post-op recovery follow-up with you guys. I hope you learn a couple of things, and whether you're just catching up to see how I went or going in for your wisdom teeth surgery yourself, I hope this has provided you with a little bit of comfort, maybe a little bit of confidence as well, that everything's just going to be okay. So there's nothing to worry about. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.